Oscar season is almost upon us, and that means there's a deluge of glurgy, sentimental drama films to go and watch this year, coming out very soon. Two titans this year ready to fight it out are Stephen Hawking, who of course has a massive inspiring disability, and Alan Turing, who was a World War II hero but also gay, which is an Oscar double whammy if you're playing bingo along to this. I mean, I'm a big fan of Alan Turing. He had so much hard stuff to go through in his life, and Stephen Hawking as well, but I mean, putting Benedict Cumberbatch in an Oscar movie and having him play a charismatic gay man is just Tumblr shooting fish in a barrel, you know? But luckily, one movie this year is set to break that mould by making itself a black comedy of the darkest variety. This film is Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
I remember when I lost my mind. There's something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo, so much space.
How did we end up here? In this dump? You were a movie star, remember?
So, a quick potted recap. Regan Thompson is an actor better known for his work in the Birdman movies, big superhero films that were big in the 80s and 90s, but aren't so great anymore.
Hold the man's law! You do Birdman!
Thompson's hit his midlife crisis and he's looking to reinvent himself as some sort of artist. He's put on an adaptation of the Raymond Carver short story, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. Riggins recently had another actor in the production replaced by a charismatic actor who, although he's quite good, is well known for taking over projects. He's played by Edward Norton. Here, Edward Norton essentially plays himself. So, as Riggin desperately tries to put on this play, which seems to be endlessly failing, he's also trying to deal with the falling apart of his relationship with his girlfriend, and also with his daughter who's fresh out of rehab. That's Emma Stone. Oh, and there's one more thing going on in Riggins' life. You see, he's started hearing the voice of Birdman in his head. He can now levitate and he can throw objects around a room with his mind. Or he's going mad. It's one of the two. So Birdman's got a lot going on for it. I mean, some of that definitely sounds like Oscar bait, especially the whole adapting another thing which then reflects the thing itself, or the daughter in rehab plotline. But Birdman refuses to be what you expect it to be in any moment. For one thing, the whole thing takes place in pretty much one shot. What Birdman seeks to do is to use the oneer as a way of bringing you into Riggins' kind of warped world. And it's incredibly well done. I mean, at some points it even shakes and you can watch it kind of wobble around in that kind of Adobe After Effects post-stabilization look. But even then, that thing that's usually a problem actually adds to the feel of the movie quite a lot by bringing you into the kind of porous moral boundaries of Riggins' world. I'm not a big fan of long-duration single takes. I think they pretty much tend to distract from films more than they add to them. A lot of directors use them as excuses to look good in front of the camera, or rather behind it, whereas they don't really think about what the film's trying to do. I mean, there's a good reason why we edit films together, right? We want to make the images juxtapose with each other. We want to make the sequences be portrayed as different time periods, so on and so forth. I mean, Birdman also has another challenge coming to it, which is the fact that it's a comedy. Comedies usually have their timings adjusted by editing, and they're one of the things where a good editor can really make a great comedy shine. But obviously with a oneer, the timing has to be correct, absolutely, straight off the bat. Tough to pull off. Luckily, Birdman manages it. Probably one of the reasons why that is that the guy who shot it is also the guy who shot Gravity. I say shot, I mean it's inverted commas, isn't it? He put it all together on a computer somewhere.
You just embrace the pain, because these were all unique creations.
But whereas his work on Gravity feels a little bit sterile, a little bit dull, a little bit emotionless, this film manages to really bring all that stuff together. The oneer gives it this energetic feeling to it. It's buzzing, it's incessant. And the other thing that keeps the film going is the fantastic nature of the performances involved in it. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about Michael Keaton, and the fact is he's absolutely amazing in this film. He's playing basically a thinly veiled version of himself, right? A big actor from the 80s or 90s who made his name in superhero films, looked like he was going to become a lead, and then ultimately fizzled out and became to nothing, before eventually joining into art house dramas. I mean, when I say he's basically playing himself, he's almost exactly playing himself. Ed Norton pulls off a similar trick, whereas he originally became known in the industry for taking over other people's creative projects like he did with American History X, for instance. In this film he's able to poke fun at that, and he shows a side of humour which, to be honest with you, I've never really seen Ed Norton do apart from in Fight Club. But that's not the extraordinary part about these performances. The fact is that both those actors really commit, they really throw themselves into it. There's a scene at which they have a kind of fight in their pants and they're kind of chucking newspapers at each other and throttling each other. And it's tough to make that commitment to that when you're such a well-known actor, but they really throw themselves into that slapstick side of it. And ultimately it pays off, it's a really funny scene. But the supporting actors are the most important thing in this movie because they make the small world of it feel very real. Zach Galifianakis shows up for about 3 scenes, Tabitha Dickinson plays this art critic, and then there's Emma Stone. She plays this fantastically complex character who's just fresh out of rehab, is trying to look after her dad but can't really look after herself even. Ultimately, it's those performances that tie the film together with an emotional core, the kind of core that Gravity, to be honest with you, was missing. It's the kind of thing that can pull off a kind of technical achievement like this and make it seem like it's much more than the sum of its parts. There's a lot of complex themes going on in Birdman as well. At its heart, it's basically a discussion about what's better, art or pornography. Pornography in this case could be, well, actual pornography or action movies or anything like that. Mass media, as you might want to call it. Whereas art is this kind of closed-in, New York Village, galleries and theatres kind of feel. Birdman has a very ambiguous ending that I really wouldn't want to spoil for you. It's hard to say exactly at what point the film kind of goes off the rails a bit, but it's definitely not something I'd like to get into right now. Birdman, I think, says that people will appreciate art, but if you sell them pornography in the same context as you sell them art, well, it's kind of the same difference, right? So there you have it. In an awards season that's going to be full of overwrought, overly sentimental crap, Birdman takes its claws out and really digs into the Hollywood underbelly. What it comes out with isn't something self-indulgent, but something that's transcendentally clever about how it deals with art in the modern world, without ever really whacking you over the head with it.
Dude, you freaking rock!
I really like Birdman, guys. It was good.